Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the PCM Hockey Podcast. As today is episode 15, and today we got a great action-packed episode for you guys. As we got the Stanley Cup Finals. As we just watched Game One, it was an absolutely beating by the Tampa Bay Lightning as they won 5-1 over the Montreal Canadiens. It was an absolute demolition derby for the Lightning as Kucherov scored a big 2 for them. It was a great game and kind of what I was expecting, but at the exact same time, not really. The Montreal Canadiens got absolutely slammed. But before I go really deep into the game, I do have a special guest alongside of me today, once again, as my boy Kelvin Hector is here. How's it going, and how are you surviving the heat right now?
It's going well, mostly because I'm renting a basement suite, so I am underground, which is probably the place most people are staying if they have a basement. I feel bad for people that don't, because you better have a fan, and if you don't have a fan, oh boy, I I don't want to be in your spot right now. Unfortunately, I can handle the sun, but heat is a different thing. I like the UV, but the heat, when it feels like you're walking through an oven, a walk-in oven. Yeah, that's a little hot. That's a little too hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's been crazy. Like, I of course have a basement as well, and it's nice because I've just been hibernating down here. Because every time I go upstairs, I feel like I lose an extra 2-3 pounds just from sweating, so damn much. As we're having a little heat wave throughout BC and Alberta right now, throughout our areas. So it's been about 40 degrees and about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's been absolutely insane over the past little bit. But we're not here to talk weather. We're here to talk hockey. So we'll get right into the Montreal Canadiens versus Tampa Bay Lightning series. Of course, Montreal beat the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games, and the Lightning pulled off a huge victory in Game 7 against the New York Islanders. So now we have these two teams facing off in the finals. And Calvin, how did you think of Game 1 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens? And did you expect this beating from the Tampa Bay Lightning?
With the way Montreal's been playing, I definitely didn't expect it to be as lopsided as it was. I had a feeling Montreal was going to have a tough one out of the gate against Tampa Bay, having not played them at all in the regular season and not really having a feel for the Lightning this year. Um, Now, that being said, I've said this in previous podcasts. The Montreal Canadiens are really good at making adjustments, and they've proven that every series because it's not like they've blown through every series. The only sweep they had was against the Jets, and the Jets were injured and had some suspensions going on. So it might not have been a sweep otherwise. Now, Carey Price can't win every game for the Montreal Canadiens. It's got to be a team effort. And obviously, tonight showed that perfectly. It was a perfect example. Like Price can only be a brick wall for so long before it's just and the thing was some of those goals, like the second Kucherov goal was a deflection. Like it was just a bad bounce. I forget which defenseman was in front of Price, but he tries to clear it with yeah. So Sherratt tries to bat the puck away, and then he does that, but then it bounces off someone else. Or oh no, and then Price reaches for it, bounces in the air, and then Kucherov is just able to kind of punch it in with his stick. So
Well,
it's like
actually, no, it was the way that it went, it was like Kucherov threw it towards the front of the net, and Sherratt tried to catch it, and it bounced up in the air, and then Palat came in, and it like kind of bounced off of Sherratt's stick and right into the back of the net, because Price was trying to go for it, but it hit right off of Sherratt's stick, right into the back of the net. I've seen a couple replays of it. It was hard to see it the first time, but it was Ben Sherratt who caused that goal for the Montreal Canadiens.
yeah, so it was a juggling act, and that kind of goal, like you can't blame Price. Like I mean, he can only stop it so many times, and then on the other end, like Vasilevsky, just whew, I mean, brick wall. I mean, well, I think they were saying it's the fourth straight year being nominated for the Vezina. Like that says a lot. Like how many goaltenders can you name off the top of your head that do that aren't Hall of Famers, right? So Vasilevsky, ooh, he's making his way to the Hall of Fame. And I mean, if Tampa wins back-to-back cups, I think that's pretty cemented by the fact he's been playing so well and just able to keep Tampa Bay in games, especially wasn't Montreal for lack of trying. I mean, it wasn't completely lopsided. I think the score shows a little different. Montreal definitely got their legs under them by the second period. It was a lot tighter that period. And then things just kind
Mhm.
of, the wheels fell off in the third, is really what happened. I mean, if you look at the box score, it's like 3 goals for Tampa Bay in the third, 0 for Montreal. You take those 3 goals away, it's a 2-1 game. It's a 1-goal game. So
Yeah.
that's my reasoning for why I'm not like, oh crap, Montreal is going to get swept. Like it's just game one. And like I said from the start of this rant, Montreal is able to adjust. They did it against Toronto. They were down 3-1 against Toronto. They were able to come through, right? And even that first game against Winnipeg wasn't an easy win for them. And then they just made adjustments, and that's just goes to show how strong their coaching can be, even though it's all interim coaches. But that
Mhm.
doesn't the interim tag doesn't mean you're a bad coach. It just means you replace to replace the old coach. But you're
Yeah.
not guaranteed to be back to be the new head coach. But
Mhm.
I think after this run, I think Montreal will keep a lot of the coaching staff they have now.
Oh,
Especially a lot of the new
I
hires.
would. I mean, Dominic Ducharme's been surprising me. He wouldn't have been my first candidate to hire, but he's been in the organization for a bit. Same with Luke Richardson. Same with a lot of those guys, and it seems like they've been able to get that team, farther than any other coach has. Like, I agree with you on the fact that you can't look exactly at a game one and say, this is the way that the rest of the series is going to go. I believe Montreal will bounce back. They've done it against many other teams, and they came back on a 3-1 series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, I mean, anything's possible. But in this game, Montreal got pummeled. Ben Sherratt, I gotta say, was one of the worst defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens, and their defense was really poor. I felt like they got outskate. I felt like they got outworked. I felt like everything Tampa Bay was better. They were faster. They were cycling the puck better. They were just honestly doing just about everything better than the Montreal Canadiens in that game. And Carey Price kept them in the game for majority of it. It was a 1-goal game in the second period, and Price kept him in that. That could have been like a 10-0 game for the Tampa Bay Lightning with the amount of chances Tampa Bay had, especially on the couple power plays that they had. I was talking about on my buddy's Perlo show there on how great the PK was for the Montreal Canadiens, but it seemed like they just weren't able to stop the passing plays of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were able to stop them from breaking in, but once Tampa Bay Lightning were in the offensive zone, it just seemed like they couldn't do anything. It just Tampa Bay sucked up. They just were able to go in there in the offensive zone and just dominate and stop the Canadiens from doing absolutely anything. And you're right on that. Vasilevsky's been insane. And also another amazing stat: 100 hits on the night. Did you like the physicality? Did you see throughout this game? Because I gotta say, this was one of the most physical games that I've seen to start off a series so far, I think.
I mean, that's the kind of hockey Montreal's been playing, though, have they not? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they've been pretty chippy
Oh
on their
yeah.
way through. And I mean, Tampa Bay, they had a lot of animosity in that Islanders series. Like,
Oh yeah.
that was not a safe series to be a part of. There was lots of dirty shots and cross checks. So I think that's just kind of spilled over for both teams in this finals. And they're just taking that animosity with them in
Mm-hmm.
hopes that they can grind out some wins. It only takes 4 to get that Stanley Cup. They just have 4 left. Well, Tampa has 3 left now to go. Montreal still has 4 to climb that mountain and claim Lord Stanley's Cup. But I'm not too surprised with how physical it was. I love that kind of hockey in the playoffs. And as long as it's policed properly, like the
Mm-hmm.
referees, if Bennett's, or sorry, not Bennett, Bettman. I don't know if you were going to jump to this later on the podcast, but Gary Bettman's State of the Union address or whatever that he usually does before the Cup Finals started, he said he backed the referees. He said we have the best referees in all the major sports leagues. They have to make these split decision calls, and it's super fast. Like they're making these calls just with the fastest league in the world, as he said, because I'm not gonna lie, besides lacrosse, I think hockey is definitely up there for speed.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so it just as long as the reffing stays consistent and they're able to keep it to just scrums and guys aren't getting slashed behind the play and all that. I don't mind the physicality. I very much enjoy
No,
it.
I have enjoyed the physicality, and I didn't mind the penalties that were called. Like there was the one dumb one by Ben Sherratt where he like cross-checked like Kucherov near the face, but it didn't really hit Kucherov near the face, but they called it a penalty. That one was a missed one, but I mean they were moving so fast, like Bedman says, and I support him on it because I've been in those certain situations before as a ref, and sometimes you don't see absolutely everything. And it's easy for us fans to watch a replay and ask ourselves, why didn't that ref call that certain play? We question it a little bit, but we have the power to slow the play rate down and to look real deep into that little play when the ref only has that one little glimpse of chance of calling it. And it is really one of the hardest jobs to call a game. And I think just about every sport we hate the refs. I mean, even I do. I support the refs, but I also hate them at the same time. But they deserve a lot more support because it is a very challenging job. And I thought they did a very good job here in game one between the Canadians and Lightning. Sure, there was a couple dumb calls, but I thought they did a really good job kind of setting the tempo at the start of the game. And there wasn't really a lot of cross checks after that. It was a really physical game and they let it just be. They let the guys play. They called the penalties that were needed. And I really enjoyed that fact. So I really enjoyed them reffing. And do you agree with me on that fact, or do you think Bettman was like wrong on that fact and maybe should have called him out a little bit more?
Well, I mean, judging on this first game of the Stanley Cup Finals, the reffing was fine to me. I didn't notice
Hmm.
it being that big of a factor in the game. Calls were going both ways. It
Yeah.
didn't seem one-sided. But there was a few series definitely leading up to the Stanley
Oh
Cup
yeah.
Finals where the reffing was a little subpar and very much so under question. And I agree with those series. I was myself like questioning how was that not a penalty. I think we were texting back and forth one night when we were
Yeah.
watching the game, like how was that not a penalty call? and, and it was just baffling, like how like a string, not even just one thing, but like a string of things that go on in like a span of 2 minutes that aren't called. The referee standing right there, like bruh. Um,
Hmm.
but anyways, kind of circling back to the Montreal Tampa series, and I want to shy away from talking about penalties, but I'm just looking at the shots on goals for the Canadians. And I want to give you a crack at this. Who do you think had the most shots on goal for the Canadians tonight?
Oh, I think it was I'll have to guess maybe one of their defense because they were getting a lot of shots from their
Okay,
defensemen. So I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go with
you're on the right track.
I'm gonna go with either I think I'm gonna go with either Weber or Petrie.
Okay, so it was Weber. Yeah, he led the team in shots. And when that's coming from your defenseman, the offense is a little bit subpar for a game, especially because your defenseman. That's been one thing for the Habs is that their defense hasn't really been high scoring this playoffs.
Yeah.
So it shows that Weber's picking it up. If you have 5 shots on goal, that's great. But like as a defenseman, are they all quality shots? Not necessarily. It could
No,
be just
I don't think I don't think Montreal was getting very much of anything quality. I remember watching some of this game, and if you remember watching the Montreal Canadiens break into the zone, and every time they got close, they made sure that they didn't get a good shot off. Like Tampa
yeah.
Bay had 15 blocks in this game. We see one from Kilroy, sacrificing his body. I think Tampa Bay did a really good job of protecting Vasilevsky and not letting a lot of good quality shots, get on the net, which was a perfect job by the Tampa Bay Lightning, doing a really good job of playing defense against a team that doesn't really, have a great offensive game. They pressured them hard on the power play, and Montreal wasn't able to do anything. They knew that Eric Gustafsson's weak on defense, so might as well challenge him on, a shorthanded chance for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I really thought the entire game, Tampa Bay was really, really smart and just knew all the weaknesses for the Montreal Canadiens, which not a lot of teams were able to pull out throughout this, against the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And like I think Tampa Bay, their defense, they're just a lot more offensive. Like and
Hmm.
Braden Point, case in point, pun intended. He had three. He had assists on 3 of the goals. Like, so you don't need to score every night as a defenseman, but as long as you can move the puck, that creates some offensive opportunities. That's all you can ask for. And so,
Yeah.
I think that's another reason Tampa Bay was really able to get ahead of the Montreal Canadiens early and stay on top of them. Was just I was watching some of those power plays they had early on, and just their puck movement was insane. Like they're just able to get to that open side of the ice so quickly. I was just like, how are they not scoring right now?
Mm-hmm.
And that was Carey Price. Carey Price.
Yeah.
Not even the Canadiens defense. It was Carey Price.
It was legit Carey Price, and I'm expecting a bounce back. I mean, if we look back at history, back in 1993 when Montreal did win the Stanley Cup, they did lose Game 1. I think it was about 4-1 against the Los Angeles Kings. So we'll have to see what happens on Game 2 and Wednesday, which should be an exciting one. I'm
Now,
really
Payton,
excited to watch the game. What's up?
so you think if Montreal loses Game 2 and it's another lopsided victory for Tampa Bay, do you think Montreal goes to Jake Allen and gives him a shot for Game 3, going back to Montreal?
I don't think you do. You gotta continue riding with Carey Price. Just like, I wouldn't mind Jake Allen, but he's a very inconsistent guy at some cases. And he's not a guy that you can really rely on. Carey Price has just been the man. And yeah, maybe exhaustion might be hitting him, but the Canadians have had a lot of rest. They swept the Jets, and then they did pretty quick to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh,
So I think
sorry,
Price is
I
good.
totally forgot. Did you watch the warm-ups for the game, or did you tune in when the game started?
I did see the clumsiness by Weber.
Weber.
And all those guys falling.
Weber hit Price, looks like just under his mask, right in the collarbone area. Maybe it caught some of the padding, but like that, I totally thinking back now, that could have had a small effect on this. I mean, Price still looked good in net, but you never know. Like that could have been nagging him the entire game, and then by the third period, it just was. And
But
that's
I mean,
another.
Montreal did give up in that third period
Yeah.
too, though. So I
For
would
sure.
I would even fault Price on that fact.
And then, what was I going to add next? Do you think it was a bad call from Ducharme not to pull Price, like after the fourth goal? Maybe. Like I just don't know why he left him in for the rest of the game. Like it was just I kind of question that. Like after
I think
it's 4-1, like
I think they just kind of gave up because I think they had like a 3-man advantage. I think as well. They had a couple people in the box. They were taking dumb penalties, and it seemed like Montreal gave up when Kucherov scored that last beauty. It seemed like Montreal just gave up in the game. They knew that they weren't going to be able to make it back in the game, and they looked like they lost a lot of momentum in this game. They weren't looking as happy as they usually do. So I expect them to bounce back in Game 2. I picked Tampa Bay to win this series in Game 6, though. I just believe Tampa Bay is too strong of a team to be beat right now. They are deadly. They've been making easy of almost every team they win up against, and they've went up against some pretty heavy teams throughout this playoff. So I'm going with Tampa Bay in 6. And also, I forgot to ask you, what's your predictions in this series?
wow. As a Calgary Flames fan, I never want Tampa Bay to win the Stanley Cup again because they did not deserve their first one in 2004. Last year should have been their first ever cup. But that's for another time, another rant. In my heart, I want Montreal to win because I want Canada. I want the cup to be back on Canadian soil. I know every single time, there's Canadian players. Like I don't know how many French players Tampa Bay has on their roster, but it was a lot. Like there's like 3 or 4 guys, and there's like 3 guys that are not even dressed that are French Canadian. Like the cup's gonna, if Tampa wins, the cup's going back to Canada a lot, as it does usually every year. It comes over a few times because each player gets their day with the cup, and if you're from Canada, well, you're gonna party in your hometown with the cup. But I just want a team to freaking have the cup on Canadian soil, right? Like a nice Stanley Cup parade in Montreal would just be unreal to experience, or at least to watch on TV, because that would get televised. After seeing this game, like exactly what I said in about the Vegas series, it's gonna come down to how Montreal adjusts. If they can't figure out how to adjust based on this loss, then it's going to be easy pickings for Tampa Bay. But if Montreal smartens up and they figure out how to shut down Stamkos, how to shut down Kucherov, as they've been able to do to other players, they were able to shut down Stone. They were able to shut down Winnipeg's high offense, and they were able to shut down Matthews and Marner. Like
Mm-hmm.
If they can do that to Tampa Bay, then it's going to be a lot tighter of a series, and it'll be really down to the depth scoring. But if it's if it continues like tonight, where Kucherov has 2 goals and Stamkos gets a goal, and then points just adding assists left, front, and center, yeah, Tampa Bay's open and shut. I think they do it in 5. If Montreal can't figure things out, I think
Yeah,
Montreal grabs 1 win in Montreal. But then I
I
think
think
Game
they do
5
too.
goes to Tampa, and Tampa
Mm-hmm.
wins in 5. That's my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm
That's your
sticking with.
prediction.
The heart wants the Canadians to win, but I think the logic says Tampa in 5 based off of this win.
I feel you because, like, I'm not a big fan of both of these teams. But Montreal is definitely, I like them more than the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'd rather see them win. But, looking over everything, and especially the Tampa Bay Lightning's experience and them potentially maybe going back to back and winning it in front of their fans this year, I'm pretty sure that's even motivating them even more towards winning that Stanley Cup this year. So, I believe they could. They possibly can, but who knows with the Montreal Canadiens? We'll have to see what happens in game 2 as we pivot towards something else here now. We're going to talk a little bit about our 2 favorite Canadian teams and the Flames and the Oilers. As we're going to talk a little bit about some rumors. Of course, as we are getting near the offseason, free agency and the expansion draft and the draft is all coming up here very soon. And the rumors are slowly starting to pick up. So I'll send this one over to Calvin. Is there any updates down there in Calgary land, and what's going on down there with the Flames?
Well, I still think there's so much in the air for the Flames. Like, it's hard to nail down any rumors because as of right
I
now,
uh I also
oh,
heard Tkachuk wants out as well.
well, yeah, I'm just seeing that there's talks about maybe Tkachuk going to the Leafs, but like I don't unless we get Marner in return, maybe Tkachuk for Marner, throw some draft picks in. I could see that
Hmm.
happening. Though the Flames are giving up an asset for playoff hockey. Like Tkachuk in the playoffs, he's going to make a difference. Might not be on the score
Hmm.
sheet, but he's going to make a difference somehow in the playoffs, just like Sam Bennett did. And so giving him up for Marner, who always seems to disappear in the playoffs. Do we want 2 players that disappear in the playoffs? Do we want Gaudreau and Marner? Like, that's the thing. No. Ixnay on that trade. I do not want that to happen. We don't need the team to disappear in the playoffs. That's our main problem. Because I think the Flames,
Hmm.
yeah, you know what? Here's the thing: the Flames don't need to change anything. They really don't, because if the way the divisions will realign, because we're going back to normal for September, Flames are a playoff team in the Pacific Division. The way it was set up, were they going to be the
There's
top of the
a
division? Probably not, but they were going to make the playoffs. Like they're a playoff team. So it's tweaking. You have to tweak the team. I don't think they're going to blow it up. They might move one piece. I think one piece goes, whether that's Tkachuk, whether that's Monahan or Gaudreau. I think one of them gets moved, but I don't think a whole lot else gets changed. I really don't.
we don't got a lot of salary cap there in Calgary anyways, but
Exactly.
looking into this towards this Pacific Division, I think Calgary's playoff lives lie on the fact of how good Seattle is going to be. How good is LA going to jump up? Because I've been hearing there's been a lot of tremblings there with the LA Kings of massively being able to prove. Will
Well,
Vancouver be
and
able
then
to do better with
apparently the
Pedersen?
Kings might be in on Eichel, which
Yeah,
is
and if
just
the Kings
crazy to
pick up
think.
Eichel, then I feel like the
You get
Flames'
Kopitar and
chances would
Eichel
be
down the
pretty low.
middle, like Jesus.
That would kill the chances of the Flames being able to make it into the playoffs. I feel because the
Yeah,
division beside us in the Central would
then think
take
about
up
it.
the next wildcard spot.
But then you got Arizona, who's not really going to do. I don't think Arizona's really going anywhere. They can't. They
No,
don't have enough. They don't have really much draft stock this year, unless they trade for draft stock. But like Arizona's not going to go anywhere. Anaheim's improving, but I think they got a couple more years to go until they're back again, until they're a perennial team.
hmm
Um, and then same with San Jose. Like as long as they have Carlson on their blue line eating up the huge contracts, they can't really do a whole lot to build a new team, right?
and
Like
yeah, like it is towards Calgary, but I feel like it is a lot of odds lying on the fact of Seattle and LA and Vancouver. And I think the biggest thing Calgary right now needs is a number one centerman. Monahan hasn't been that guy over the past 2 years. And I think Gaudreau or Tkachuk needs a number one centerman, and I think that would take the Calgary Flames to the next step. And how beautiful would it be if the Flames were to, to be able to get Jack Eichel on the team?
If we could grab Eichel and Hall together in a package deal and ship off Monahan Gaudreau, that would be fantastic. That would be the ideal move. If that if that was ever a possibility, which it's not, this is a pipe dream. But I'm gonna put that out into the hockey sphere. Hopefully hopefully maybe the good bougie, and I can make it happen. Because I am secretly Brad Treliving. We all know this. I am actually the GM of the Calgary Flames. I've just hidden it really well. Yeah, we're gonna trade Monahan and Gaudreau for Eichel and Hall straight across, and that's how it's gonna go. Center and a wing for a center and a wing.
That sounds like a very even trade there. Sounds like the Buffalo Sabres is going to get a massive amount of value in that deal. That would be an absolute steal if the Flames got that. But for the Oilers rumors, I've been hearing Ellie Freeman was talking on 31 Thoughts about Giordano and Matt Dumpa being some guys that the Oilers could target. Since Klepom's there's been some rumors that he might not return in the next season with his surgery that he just did. If he plays a little bit more, I've heard that it would cause a little bit more arthritis for him. So it's just really up to him on what he wants to do next for his career. So there were some talks about Mark Giordano. He had a massive down year with the Calgary Flames. I don't necessarily know if I would want him on the team. I wouldn't mind it because it's a veteran leadership on the team, but he didn't play that great for the Calgary Flames last year, but it was a down year for them, so maybe he'll go back up. But he's only getting older, and he's probably starting to decline now. And then also the next option was Matt Dumpa. I don't mind him either, but he's practically like a Darnell Nurse 2.0, another offensive guy, not very good defensively. I don't want both of those guys. Every rumor, every time it comes out about a certain player, I'm like, I really don't want that player on the Oilers. He would not fit well on the team, and then we pick him up, and ugh. And especially, I heard another rumor we're going to be signing Jujhar Khaira, and then also releasing Dominic Cahoon, which makes no sense to me. Khaira was the worst player throughout the entire year. Cahoon was better than Khaira, but yet we're signing the worst players back once again. I don't understand what really Holland's doing. I'm ultimately excited and nervous about this upcoming offseason with the Edmonton Oilers, as we do have like $21 million in our cap space. So it's making me nervous because of the fact that, Ken Holland has signed a lot of dumb contracts over the years. But I also want to believe in the guy because I want to see this Oilers team take that next step. But we really have to have a good offseason if the Oilers want to take that next step. And I think we possibly could, especially when the divisions get back to normal and we're back in the Pacific Division. We have a chance to really dominate in that division if we bring some good leadership into the team, some playoff warriors, and to bring in some players that will help our top six a little bit defensively. Our depth needs to be massively improved. We just need a bunch of things, and I'm hoping the Oilers do that. I also been hearing some rumors about us going with the 7-3-1 in the expansion draft as well, and for some reason protecting Archibald and Cassian, which would make no sense. I'm planning on going with the 4-4-1 with the Oilers is what I'm hoping for the Oilers, but we'll see what happens, and hopefully the Oilers will have a positive offseason. Also, in other news, Vegas will be holding the All-Star Game next year in 2022, and the draft as well will be in Montreal for 2022 as well. Did you hear about that, Calvin?
Well, wasn't it the draft was supposed to be there this last summer, and then COVID happened, so
I think so.
They didn't have a host
Yeah.
city because it was supposed to happen this year. So they're just they're just pushing it back. So
yeah, pushing it back.
That one doesn't surprise me. Vegas doesn't surprise me.
No.
As much as you want like a Canadian market to host it again, because I don't think it's been here since it was in Montreal in 2013? I forget the year it was in Montreal.
But I mean, that's going to be such a party in Vegas for that All-Star game.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing to watch.
So when are we buying our tickets and doing a podcast from Vegas for the All-Star game? When are we doing that?
We should buy them here soon. Hopefully someone sponsors us to go down there. That would be amazing.
if there's anyone out there that listens and want to come with, you can pay for the trip and we'll do the
Yeah.
podcast. You got a business, you sponsor us. I love that.
We get tons of views. Come on, please.
Please, please. I want a free trip to Vegas. That'd be nice. Or
That would
how
be
about
amazing.
that COVID lottery in Alberta? I know you're in BC, but like in Alberta, they're giving away trips everywhere. I could fly to Vegas if I want if I win one of the COVID lottery draws because
Ooh.
they're drawing flights from WestJet and Air Canada, and then they just announced today they're doing like. Sorry, this is me getting into news because I'm a news person. I work at a radio station as a news guy, so these are the kind of things I know. But like today, they announced that Rocky Mountaineer is doing a trip, so you can go by train between Banff and Banff and I don't know where was the start. It was Banff to somewhere, but like trips like that. I mean, you win the flight, you can fly anywhere you want in Canada, or there's a couple of flights where you can fly anywhere that Air Canada flies or that WestJet flies. So you could definitely go to Vegas, which would be wow. And I wish I went to the one in LA a couple of years ago because that one seemed like a party, but holy crap, Vegas is just gonna make it tenfold.
Oh, it's going to be an amazing one. So we're going to end the podcast here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. We'll get into our final words, and I'll send it off to Calvin on his final words for the podcast.
Again, I'm putting it into the sphere. Hall
Mm.
and Eichel for Goudreau and Monahan. I'm on that train. Also, well, can't wait for the party in Vegas because that needs to happen. And they secretly announced that there's going to be a Heritage Classic next year. They haven't announced any teams and they haven't announced the location. So I'm still saying, let's get a freaking game in Lake Louise between Edmonton and Calgary. That needs to happen. That needs to happen. It does. After seeing Tahoe, we need a Canadian version of Tahoe, and there's no other place in Lake Louise. Put it right
Oh,
at the
we
base.
need to have that happen.
Put it right at the base of the ski mountain, so you can get people skiing down the hill while you have the game going on. Like that would be insane. That'd be awesome.
Oh, dude,
So,
it would be
so
amazing.
that that's my final thought. Go Habs.
Perfect. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks watching hockey and whatever else you're doing, and hope you are surviving well in this heat wave if you're living in BC and Alberta, as we're experiencing some rather crazy weather right now. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Adios, amigos.